Okay, so today we're talking about skin, focusing on skin and the messages behind the symptoms, because there's a root cause to everything. Every symptom that you have, there's a meaning behind it, and there's no such thing as accidents either. It's your body telling you messages. So, but let's just narrow this down into more succinct. So we're talking about skin, and I really love working with skin because it's very often the results are quite almost instant and certainly quite quick, usually. Not every case, but mostly has been my experience. And so I just want to see if I can work out how to share my screen, and then I will be able to go. And I'll be able to talk in more detail with you. So I guess you can all see me on this, so that's great. Okay. So this top picture here is this one round here on the left. This is my client who came to me in March 2019. We actually started a conversation about methotrexate, which is what these doctors wanted to put him on. He's got this red itchy skin all over his body, and he was just desperate for some help. So he was talking to me about what methotrexate is, whether I recommend it or not, because my daughter had been on it when she had her autoimmune disease. So we had a conversation around that. But I actually said to him in the end, I think I can work with you even better. You know, let's just have a session together and see what happens. And he was so desperate. He was like my most skeptical client in the beginning, and became almost my #1 fan, because you can see how on the left of, I guess it's still the left for you, on the left of the picture is really red and raw, and he'd got that pretty much all over his body. It was in his scalp, his arms, his torso, and this awful, must have been so painful and so itchy. He must have really kind of wanted to climb out of his own skin. It must have been really dreadful. So this was March 2019, and then the images on the right, or image on the right, is the same leg 2 weeks later. And the results really did blow both our minds, because this was the first time I'd ever worked with skin. It was still quite new. The modality I trained in was still quite new to me, so, and I didn't really know what I could do. So it was just, wow, look at this, look at that. And now, you know, it's obviously gone. And the root cause, because this is what I want to talk to you about as well, the messages behind the symptoms. You can see how angry his skin is. And it was actually anger that was the suppressed emotion lying behind it. Anger from being a child, just usual kid stuff really, but it was something he hadn't been able to express properly. And when you can't express it, those emotions have to go somewhere. So he kept it all in, and it became like a pressure cooker, and his skin was like, will you please notice that I'm in this pain, that he didn't even know that he was. So that's the first one. And then this is a testimonial that he gave me. I had psoriasis for over 15 years, and my skin has never felt as good as now. I'm looking forward to wearing shorts and t-shirts with confidence this year. And the image there is his elbow on the left and on the right. So you can see how painful that must have been. And just 2 weeks later, it's got normal skin, because we went to the root. And that's why this is so beautiful. It's going back to his personal root cause. And I'll tell you more in a moment about how I get to the root cause, because it's not me second guessing what went on. You know, as the client, it's just that you don't know probably on a conscious level. So that's Pat. And that was just, like I said, it was my first real physical, apart from the autoimmune disease that I'd helped with my daughter. I worked with anxiety too. But this was something that was actually tangible, and you actually see what had gone on and how we released the emotions that we needed to. So then in February, I believe it was, in 2021, Kerry came to me looking for help with psoriasis as well. And she got it on her, predominantly on her forehead, and she had got no idea. It started when, I think it was in her 20s. So she'd had it for quite some time. And she was her root cause was that I'm trying to remember it actually, her root cause was that she had self-harmed when she was in her teens, only once, but when she did, her mum noticed that she was in pain. And so I was like, oh, isn't that interesting that you had that help when you self-harmed and your mum could see that wound, and now you've got psoriasis. It's like your body saying, will you please notice what's going on? And she went, oh yes, that's exactly what it is. I am, I've got to wear my pain because no one's seeing it, no one's noticing. And when she could see it, all this trauma that she'd gone through as a teenager that she wasn't going through now, she was able to release it and let go of it. And again, I think it was about 2 weeks between her before and after as well. It certainly wasn't very long. So and she said, it's really amazing how working with my mind is so much more effective than applying every type of cream on my skin. And that is so true, because when you get to the root, it's like weeding a garden. You just pick it out, pull it out, and it's just something your body doesn't need to hold on to anymore. You're releasing those emotions so that whatever the issue is can heal. And then this is a really lovely one as well. This lovely lady, Zoe, came to me with as you can see, skin issues on her, like dermatitis on her stomach and her back. And they're the before and after pictures. Before pictures, rather. No, the before pictures, as you can see. And her root cause, she couldn't believe it, because her root cause was that her body, her mind believed that it wasn't safe for her to be on Instagram, because she was posting pictures like a little bit like that with her bra top on, like the crop top kind of thing. And even though it was only in a friends group rather than on the whole of Instagram, her mind obviously believed it wasn't safe for her to do that, to be so visible or so sort of semi-naked or whatever you want to call it. So that her body decided, or her mind decided, that let's give her a skin rash so that she doesn't make herself so vulnerable on Instagram. And she just couldn't believe that's what it was. And when she understood it, again, it was easy to release. And she's never, as far as I know, she's never been on Instagram wearing that kind of clothes anymore. So the skin rash hasn't needed to come back. So that was quite a fun one to deal with. We'd never have guessed that was what her root cause was. But again, let's see if I can scroll down. Yeah, so then a week later, you can see on that screen, that image, it's fading, and there it's gone completely. That's 2 weeks later on that one. So a week later and then 2 weeks later, it's disappeared. So that is really fabulous. And then this one. Now this one is a client I worked with just yesterday. Now we've had several sessions. This isn't just a one-hit wonder that a lot of mine are, that we just get to that root cause and release it. This one has taken about 4 or 5 sessions. Can't actually remember, but it's been more than one. And these were her images yesterday. The pink, the top ones, was before we worked together. And she was just saying, it's never going to go. I'm just going to have to put up with it. And they're so painful. They're bleeding, they're raw, they itch. I have to scratch. She's sort of scratching at them. And so what I did differently with her that I'd done previously, because she just said, I just don't believe it's going to release so much emotion in the previous sessions, but it was still not doing anything. So I took her to a future self, because what I do, I'll tell you now, really, it might be an easy thing to do. So what we do is that I use hypnotherapy, which is just about you being relaxed. And while you're relaxed, you're talking to me with your eyes closed. And then it's like guided meditation with a real purpose, a real like laser-like focus. So we go back to how, when and where it all began. And your mind just shows you how, when and where. You start with daydreaming. And it's almost like a daydream. It's like, oh, well, I'm just remembering that and it's stuff we go back to the past, you know, where it's all began, and just looking at, well, I'm 5, I'm 6, I'm 7, and I'm having to choose between parents or whatever it is, and it's making me feel lost and helpless and hopeless, and kind of got to just divide myself between different parents and that kind of thing. So that's what it might be about. And then we look at, it's not what happened, it's the emotions you've attached to it that's really important. So then it's my job to link those emotions into, and to emotionally thread them into how they those themes and any others that may come to you have actually showed up in the present moment. What it's all about is linking that stuff in the past. It's like a string of lights in your mind, so it's going da, 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 that's true, that's true, that's true, therefore this is true now. And it's about uncovering it, rewiring it, more empowering you from those old emotions that you thought was true when you were little, and more than likely it isn't true now in the now moment, but you probably don't know what you've been holding on to. So the images at the top with the pink background were before we worked together, and the ones at the bottom are an hour later. And so this time I took her to her future, and we went right in the future. I think she was about, we did 2 scenes, I think 18 and 20, somewhere around there. So because she's a young girl, so that was her future, and she could see that actually she was confident, she was happy, she got friends around her, and everything was going to work out just fine. And then what I do is I give the client a recording. So I was doing the recording for her, and as I was doing the recording, she opened her eyes, and I was just thinking, will you just relax? That's what you're supposed to be doing. But she was opening her eyes because she could feel the pain had gone already. That was the incredible thing, and that's the difference. She knows that that has changed for her,